All right, welcome back to the channel. I have a PSA 80s card order coming back very soon, but I wanted to film this a look at some of the cards from the 80s that I have. These are all graded. I have tons of cards still from the 80s in boxes and in a garage in my parents' house and whatnot, but I figured it'd be nice to continue with fulfilling the requests that people have, for me to show some of my collection. So I have I've got a few boxes here. There's going to be, as you might imagine, quite a bit of hockey involved. But I've got, I think I even have I got some baseball, There's a good variety in this. Now, something that you won't see here are any 1986 Fleer basketball cards because I got rid of all of those. I don't know. I think the set's overrated. Maybe I just was so thrilled to, really kill the market on that I chose to unload them all. All right, I'm not going to necessarily go in any particular order, so we'll keep it mixed up, right? We'll start with Dino Ciccarelli in a PSA 10. Let's see. This is probably the best angle. There's young Dino, the Minnesota North Stars, when they have really cool uniforms. I mean, Ciccarelli, well over 500 goals, gets no respect in the hobby. Was a real tough guy too on the ice. Here's a couple from the mid 80s. Here's a Mario Lemieux 1985 Topps PSA 9. This was one of the cards that I had. I pulled from packs way back when, probably in 1985. And here's a Patrick Roy 1986 Topps PSA 9 that I pulled back in 86. These were, it was funny, I had two of those Lemieux going into grading, and I thought there was a 10 in there. I thought one of them was at least a 10. And it came back a 9, which I still have, and a 4. And I was like, what in the hell? And the better looking one from the front was I thought, it was when it came back a 4. And what actually happened is there were like wrinkles all over the back, almost like it had gotten a little water damage. And I had didn't even look at the back of the card. So moral of the story: make sure you look at the back of your cards before you grade them. 1980 Topps Billy Smith, unscratched. Still blows my mind that somebody could have looked at this and not immediately scratched off that puck. I know I had a bunch of 1980 cards that I ruined by scratching and putting quite a bit of pressure on the cards too. Here's a 1982 Wayne Gretzky in action in a 9. There you go. I had said these 1982 and N83 O-Pee-Chee cards, they hold a special place. So I think they're unique in my opinion, because Topps did not make cards these 2 years. And so there was never the choice of Topps or O-Pee-Chee. It was like for a couple of years, we didn't really get hockey cards in the US, so it was just hard to find. Here's a Michel Goulet in a PSA 10. He's a Hall of Famer, one of the greatest goal scorers to play in the NHL. Speaking of goal scorers, 1983 Topps Mike Bossy, the greatest goal scorer to play in the NHL. He only played 10 years. If he would have played 16 years, we would be talking about Alex Ovechkin chasing Mike Bossy's goal record. Oddly enough, I hope Ovechkin continues at his current pace because he looks like shit this year. And he tortured the Islanders for so many years. He's tortured me for so many years. So, I'm not going to say I'm rooting against him, but I ain't rooting for him. Here's a 1983 O-Pee-Chee Billy Smith in a 9. Billy Smith, just a really clutch goalie, pretty mean back when you had to be mean. Here's an 83 O-Pee-Chee Wayne Gretzky in an 8. Really I would say, I was going to say underrated card, but I mean, these cards are going nutso in a 10. Like, these cards are just going for absurd prices. So maybe it's not so underrated. 1983 O-Pee-Chee Guy Lafleur. Go watch some highlights if you're not familiar with Guy Lafleur, skating up and down the ice with his hair flowing in the breeze and just making everybody look stupid. Unbelievable, unbelievable. Joey Mullen, one of the best U.S.-born skaters or hockey, NHLers. He's a Hall of Famer and a PSA 10, still an 83 O-Pee-Chee. I said I wasn't going to go in order, but that was a bunch of O-Pee-Chee. Here's a CSG Wayne Gretzky in an 8.5. Again, 1980 tops. Somehow, blows my mind that there are all kinds of these cards out there without the puck scratched. Veering into football, here's a 1986 tops Lawrence Taylor in an SGC 8.5. This card design for me is one of my favorites. Probably second favorite overall to 1984 tops, but I just love these. The lines on the green field in the background. Almost virtually impossible to grade because the cards chipped easily, and they're mostly and a lot of printing problems. But yeah, a favorite. Here's Walter Payton in an SGC 9 Sweetness. He's very well thought of in the hobby, but I don't think he gets enough respect. Here's a Mike Schmidt 1981 tops baseball in an SGC 9. Gotta love the All-Star banner, right? That's my favorite part of some of the cards in the in the 70s, more or less. Here's my Ricky Henderson from the old personal collection in a VG3. Man, I was gonna say it's pretty well centered, but it's really not, and the corners are beat up. But this was one from the old basement. Here's my 1984 Donruss San Diego Chicken in a 5. I just I love the San Diego Chicken and the fact that he had a card in the Donruss sets. Just fun. So I sent it for grading. This one I sent in for grading because I thought it was going to be a 10, and I thought it would be worthwhile, even though Harold Reynolds, he's having a nice career afterwards, right? And he was a very good ball player. I mean, a great career afterwards in the as a broadcaster or on ESPN. But he came back in 8. So I was like, all right, I guess I'll just I'll hang on to it. It will be part of my personal collection, even though I have no affinity to him per se, other than just thinking this was a really good example. But I think you look a little closer, the corners have some damage, or not damage, but some wear. Here's a Joe Montana from 1981 tops in an 8. Really nice example, again from the childhood collection. One of these cards, this was one of the cards I had in a screw down, carrying it all over the place with me, along with various other valuable cards. Finally sent in for grading, got an 8. Going back to 86 tops, this time we're in the PSA world, so 1986 John Elway in an 8.5. Yep, 8.5. Again, just love the design, and Elway was just, he was a beast. Maybe one day I'll wear my John Elway jersey. I think I have it out in the garage because my parents, keep sending me home with stuff, keep cleaning out their house. Here's the Jerry Rice. Again, impossible to grade these things. 8.5. I graded, I think, 5 of these, and 8. This was the best one that came back. I sold the rest, but because who needs 5 Jerry Rices? But the 8.5 is it's impressive, right? It's just hard to grade these things. It just is. This one came back recently as an 87 tops Herschel Walker in a 10. So I was excited that I actually picked the right Herschel Walker to have it come back at 10. Exciting. All right, I think we're going back into hockey. Here's an 80 O-Pee-Chee Guy Lafleur. Now, the difference, I mean, with O-Pee-Chee and Topps in this way was the O-Pee-Chee didn't have the, you know, the scratch off, right? They were just, so it's not like this was scratched off really nicely. It just didn't have the I don't know, wax on top of it or whatever. So if you see cards from the 1980 set in hockey, you know, pay attention to that, even though you can tell from the back, you know, number one, the backs are brighter on the O-Pee-Chee than in the Topps, and it also has French. So you look at the, you know, here sorry, I gave you the finger. Here we have center in English, and here we have right wing arrière droit. And that's French for right wing. The Bryan Trottier in a PSA 9. Beautiful, beautiful. A Wayne Gretzky, 1980. See, now this is 1980 Topps. This is, again, from my collection, VGEX4. This is one of my favorite cards, like just the picture and the fact that it's the second year and it's kind of underpriced, in my opinion. I did a nice job scratching off the black. Here's an 81 Guy Lafleur in an 81 O-Pee-Chee in a 9. Not one of my favorite sets, but you know, I've got a handful of them around. These were much more widely produced and don't really have a lot of value. I mean, but, you know, how many hockey cards really do have a lot of value? Here's a couple of 1982 McDonald's stickers. Here's a Mike Bossy on your left with an 8, and a Gretzky in a 2. You know, it's funny, as I was looking at the Gretzky, I was focused, I got to do more work on the back of the, you know, the cards when I grade them, because when I got this back from PSA, I was like, 2, are you kidding me? Look at how beautifully centered it is. And like, okay, the corners have some wear, but, you know, when you look at the back of this guy, it's got, like, you know, paper loss and stuff like that. You can all see it here, so. Pay attention to the backs of your cards, kids. Here's a Gretzky 82 O-Pee-Chee in a 5. This one was one that I had and I graded from my childhood collection. Now we're getting into a bunch of O-Pee-Chee guys that I have purchased recently. Marcel Dionne in a 10. Talk about underappreciated. It's amazing, you know, you can have thousands and thousands of points, but if you don't win a Stanley Cup, the hobby doesn't seem to care. They care about this guy, Dennis Potvin in a 10. (101 points in 1978-79. This is a post-serial Mike Bossy from 1982 in a 9. I thought this was just a fun card. You got the logo on the back and the post. It's, you know, I don't know, maybe PSA could have slabbed it up in a little better, right? Because there's a lot of space, but it doesn't move within slab, so that's good. Here's an 83 Potvin in a 10. 83 Trottier in a 10. Trottier was my favorite player growing up. He was the guy that, you know, I most, well, I had his jersey. He was definitely my favorite. Here's a Lanny McDonald. You gotta love that mustache in a 10. Flames and Maple Leafs legend. Got a couple of Mike Gartners here, you know, 10s. He's somebody that is, feel like I keep saying it. There's so many of these guys that are underappreciated in the hobby, but Gartner was just incredible. Speaking of incredible, Dale Hawerchuk, may he rest in peace, because he passed away recently. Didn't have as long of a career as you know, we would have hoped, but he came up, I think, when he was 18, if I'm not mistaken, and had 103 points with the Jets in 1981-82. The youngest player ever to compete in the All-Star game, 1982. Until this year, although Connor Bedard got hurt, so maybe that, oh no, I think Crosby will still have that record then. 84 Topps, O-Pee-Chee Cicerelli. Very cool. 84 O-Pee-Chee Potvin. This one I had in my collection at home. I said I really like the 84 Topps football cards. That's my tied with my 86 Topps from a design perspective. But I love this the design of this year in the 84 O-Pee-Chee Potvin in a 10. Here's an 84 Topps Mike Bossy All-Star in a 9. And then last but not least, the old 7-Eleven credit card. This one happened to have, the teammates of Bossy and, well, I guess they all have teammates because the Lemieux has Mike Bullard on it, but this is Bossy and Trottier. This is 2 Hall of Famers, not just one. And here's a look at the back of the 7-Eleven. We didn't really have a lot of 7-Elevens where I live, so I didn't, this was purchased recently. I don't remember those cards being handed out or what you needed to do to get them. I do remember the Slurpee discs because when we were down in Florida, every now and then I get a Slurpee so I can get that disc. But I hope you've enjoyed this look at the 80s. We'll come back with some 90s pretty soon.